Good morning, Internet, and welcome back to the Reading and Master List of Logical Fallacies with Alan Muelger and Bryce Barnett, and we're in person now. Yes. Wow! We had a whole fun weekend. Anyways, you can go watch that on the Bryce Barnett Home Videos channel. Alan, how are you doing today?
Doing good, my dude. Excited to... It's been a really solid weekend to spend time with you and just be able to enjoy your presence and... yeah, just chill, hang out. So I'm excited to do this in person because we've been doing this primarily completely over Zoom. Mm-hmm. So excited to try this out in person.
That is correct. And we've also had a lot of political conversations. You could say that the fallacy today is political correctness. And Alan, let's have you take it away.
Let's get into it. Political correctness. What number is this one?
99.
Wow,
yeah,
99.
We've been doing it for that long.
99. My goodness. Political correctness. PC, a postmodern fallacy, a counterpart of the name-calling fallacy, supposing that the nature of a thing or situation can be changed by simply changing its name. Example, today we strike a blow for animal rights and against cruelty to animals by changing the name of pets to animal companions. Or never ever play the victim card because it's too manipulative and sounds so negative, helpless, and despairing. Instead of being victims, we are proud to be survivors. Of course, when victims disappear, then perpetrators conveniently vanish as well. See also the passive voice fallacy, the scripted message. Also applies to other forms of political language control. Example, being careful never to refer to North Korea or ISIL by their rather pompous proper names, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea and the Islamic State, respectively, or to the Syrian government as the Syrian government. It's always the regime or the dictatorship. Occasionally, the fallacy of political correctness is falsely confused with simple courtesy. Example, I'm sick and tired of the tyranny of political correctness, having to watch my words all the time. I want to feel free to speak my mind, to call out a blank, or I'm not saying that, or a queer in public anytime I damn well feel like it. See also non-recognition. An opposite of this fallacy is the fallacy of venting below. There's a lot in this one. There's like multiple usages. It seems like there's 3 different usages. One seems like it's like almost a marketing process. It's like, hey, instead of calling it pets, call them animal companions. So it's like making things sound nicer by simply changing the name, which would be equivocation.
Yeah.
So like equivocate. So it sounds like this is what the first section is equivocating for the sake of making things sound better to the party that would get advantage from it sounding better. Is like use number 1 of political correctness. Does that sound right?
Yeah. So, and that's saying that is the fallacy, because it's a bunch of different fallacies all combined together that I'm actually having trouble wrapping my mind around it. But the biggest one is equivocation for me. Yeah. But also name calling wasn't just ad hominem. Name calling was not calling people names, but calling ideas names. And it's like name calling was a combination of equivocation with something else. Oh my gosh! So there's so much in this one. If it comes back to me, I'll say it.
Yeah.
But oh man.
To me, it just seems like overall it's the act of trying to change the meaning of words, or change, not the meaning of words, but change the words we use to refer to certain subjects relative to a political agenda. And political agenda meaning like relative to public opinion, and considering public opinion as a filter for what words to call what, for what names to call what. is kind of what I'm hearing there.
Do you remember the passive voice fallacy? That wasn't too long ago.
I do remember the passive voice fallacy.
That was the one that was like, instead of, what was it?
So what I'm getting from this one is just anything that has to do with politics sucks. That's what I'm getting, because it's like the whole fallacy. What it's saying is like it's essentially saying to change your language based off of the political ecosystem, rather than simply address the thing as it is the biggest thing I'm getting from this, which I really don't like that. Yeah.
This is used in positive and negative, because it's used in the positive at the top here, where pets as animal companions are then victims to survivors. But then, and then it's like the opposite is calling somebody something that they don't want to be called. Whereas North Korea, we just call it North Korea when their actual name is the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, which we would argue wouldn't be very democratic, because we know how North Korea is run, and that's why we call it North Korea.
Yeah.
But like, could you argue that like that's against what they want to be called? Sure, like, because that's not what they want to be called.
Yeah. This also feels like there's a lot of like propaganda in this. So, example like ISIS and ISIL. Those two words in particular, or I should say acronyms. Those two acronyms in particular had so much political charge. I remember there was I remember that having like just probably, I want to say like 2 years ago-ish, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I just remember the word ISIS having so much energy behind it, and when I say, I mean like passion and anger, frustration, and there was just like anything that had to do with ISIS whatsoever. Like I remember there was this one news story where there was this person who decided they wanted to move from the U.S. and then go join ISIS, and it was like broadcast on national television, and it was this whole like, it was made this really big thing. And I remember the whole point of that piece was to like point at this one person and like shame them, and it was like, wow. It's like so much like intensity got applied to the term ISIS for that, whatever that political agenda was at the time, and it's like here it's just like the Islamic State, if that's actually what it was actually called. I just find it interesting that, you know, it's like the agenda at the time was to demonize this particular acronym and then blow it up as big as possible and use it to shame people with. It's just like that's where I'm also finding. I don't like this one. Half the time when we read these, I'm always just like, I want to throw up. It doesn't feel good.
Then the opposite of this fallacy is venting, which, if I recall, it's just saying things that could be overly rude, and then just proclaim, well, I'm just venting, so like what I said, even if it's hyperbolic, it was totally okay. Yeah. And so I get that. Political correctness. So a lot of things are coming to my mind right now, and I want to help like narrow it down just for myself. So a big example would be like the two American parties talking past each other when it comes to, let's say, abortion, for example. One will call it pro-life, and then the other one would call that forced birth, right? So, but they're talking about the same thing, and
yeah,
I am having trouble saying, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Because there is equivocation happening, and
yeah. Well, I think what's important in that particular example, forced birth versus pro-life, it's like those are both politically motivated terms. And I think that my take on it is like it wouldn't make sense to argue is that good or bad because it is there's no conversation that anyone I couldn't imagine any amount of conversations to be like individuals that could have to change that. Like the Democratic Party is going to continue to call it forced birth, the Republican Party is going to continue to call it pro-life, and so it's like more of recognizing, hey, these are agenda-based terms all to talk about abortion, the subject of abortion. And perhaps more it's just awareness of like this fallacy more as a whole. Awareness that this is a fallacy. By increasing that, it allows people to make more effective judgment calls, kind of like identify, oh, that person's saying pro-life. What are they talking about? They're talking about abortion. Oh, that person's saying forced birth. What are they talking about? They're talking about abortion. Interesting. Okay, let me look beyond the political correctness or the political agenda statements and see if I can make a judgment for myself based off my own value systems outside of this emotionally charged container that's designed to get me to think a certain way. I think that's probably a more effective solution than if it's right or wrong. Does that make, I'm curious how you feel about that.
Yeah, I think the thing that's calming in my mind right now is I think it's simply just the education on this phrase means the same thing as this other phrase, because then that gets rid of the equivocation, because the equivocation is the assumption that they mean different things when they do mean the same thing. And so I think it's just simply discussing pets means animal companions. Victim in this case would also mean survivors in this case. And could I see the argument that restricting women's rights to have them have more babies could be argued to mean pro-life? Sure, I guess. And then I also see why that's forced birth. So in this political correctness example, I think all that needs to be educated is those two things mean the same thing.
Yeah.
And then the conversation around it becomes a lot more clear.
Yeah. Yeah, because it doesn't come with all that like weight behind it, all that emotional bias behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, to me, I'm looking at this again, and I'm seeing two. I kind of wish I would have helped these people name the fallacies. I see like two distinct ones. I see political agenda, and then I see down below where it talks about. It says occasionally the fallacy of political correctness is falsely confused with simple courtesy. Example, I'm sick and tired of tyranny of political correctness. That whole bottom section. I feel like the bottom section is what the public typically knows and understands political correctness to be. The zone of political correctness to be, whereas and the debate around political correctness, and the top one is more about. It's like, is it more correct? Like, kinda, but I just see the top more characterized as political agenda, and the bottom characterized as actual, like, what society refers to as political correctness. Curious for your thoughts on that one.
I would agree on that. So I wonder if the actual, because the way I copy and paste this, it doesn't show any bold. Language control is in bold. That's the other fallacy. Language control.
Oh.
So that's the second one. So yes, you are correct. That is a different fallacy altogether. So
yeah, there we go. Okay, great.
Okay. Cool. Thank you for pointing that out, because I would have missed that due to my not being able to bold certain letters because the whole thing was bolded.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. So yeah, then I'd love to let's talk about language control, given that that's a separate one, because I think we've nailed the first one.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get into language control for the second one. That already when I like focus on language control, my body has a whole thing.
What is it? What is it feeling?
It's like agitation, like you can't control me, you know, like like that's like the first thing that comes up. It's like this desire to be free to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it. And of course, and to be clear, like that doesn't mean that I'm like there's no words or terms that I desire to be able to say that are not politically okay to say. It's just for me, the word control. I'm already like, there's a part of me that's like, don't control me, you know, immediately. But yeah, language control. I think that there's like, from my perception of it, if we're looking at political correctness from the lens of language control, it's like, I feel like it can be identified in two places. One is in the political spectrum. Typically, if I feel like the left is using precise language to describe people, and the left typically makes more adjustments to attempt to not offend anyone or not harm people's feelings, or try to become more scientific and more like saying things as they are, so that it's less emotionally charged. And then the right is like usually just upset with that because they want to have a more emotional agenda. And so it's like, well, let me just use the word I want to use. Why do I have to change all these different words? So it's like the left having a more science-based and logic-based agenda, and then the right having more emotion and passion-based agenda. It's like there's one place there where I see the language control thing happening, because the right is like, why do you have to change all my language? And the left is like, because these things make the world a less emotionally charged place, and a less racist place, a less bigoted place, a less xenophobic place, etc. And then another place that I see it is in young generations versus older generations. It's like language updates. There was this, I can't remember who I was dating at the time. Somebody was talking, they were taking a linguistics class, and the whole thing was that words, the definition of words do in fact change over time relative to how the public uses it. So like words in the dictionary, the definitions in terms of how the public actually uses those words shift. And that's in like a larger, not socio-political, but sociological scale. But then even generations, like there are terms that the older generations in their time used and were perfectly acceptable, perfectly okay. And then as we progressed, those terms that they said without any issues, without any problems, all of a sudden become a problem to newer generations. And so to me, I see both a political spectrum thing that happens with language control, as well as an age group process based off of generational language with that which is normal. And I feel like what ends up happening often is the older generations who were using language that was acceptable for their time, they're like, this was totally fine to say, so why do I have to now all of a sudden change? Why is everybody getting angry when I say this thing? And the younger generation's like, well, we've made new terms and you need to know them. And then the old people are like, well, we don't want to learn new terms. We just want to use what we've always used, right? And it's this fight of like people's position in time relative to sociological issues. And to me, like when I see language control, that's what I tend to try to look at. Like instead of looking at someone who's older and is using language that otherwise today is not acceptable, I try not to look at them as like, oh, that person's racist or they're bigoted. I'm like, oh, they're using language that in their time was way more acceptable. Let me continue talking to this person and see if they actually have a bias towards these groups or these people. And if they do, then okay, that's a whole other thing. But if they don't, and they're just using language because that was what was used back then okay, it's like I try to look beyond it as best I can. But I also know people they get really tired of having to watch what they're saying all the time. Right? So those are kind of my overall thoughts of language control as it relates to political correctness.
I'm feeling really conflicted with language control because in the example of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, yeah, it's like, okay, that's their name, but their name contains straight up false information. they're not democratic just because they call themselves that.
Yeah.
In the same way that string theory isn't a scientific theory, and it like really bugs me when people are like, science hasn't figured out string theory, and I'm like, string theory actually isn't even science. It's not even a theory. It's not even a hypothesis because it's not even falsifiable. So it's things like that. It's like, okay, it's the thing's name, or it's that community's name, but the name contains a falsehood. So what do you do there when it comes to like respect what my name is, but also it's false information along with it. So so I'm feeling that cognitive dissonance thing right now. So how is this to be resolved? I feel like it's kind of the combination of the first thing we're talking about, where it's like, okay, educate people on this is what these two things mean, but also because they're also trying to commit equivocation within the name just by like, my name is this, therefore everything within my name is also correct. And so if we're teaching people, this is the name of North Korea, it's the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, that it is to our responsibility to also educate, they are not a democracy just because it's in the name. And so I think that's where my resolution lies, that you can still refer to the thing as whatever name they proclaim to be, while also recognizing their name's a fucking lie. So I think that's how I feel better about that for me.
People, I think for me, like, what kind of like hits with all of this, as I think probably just some closing thoughts for me, is it reminds me that there are people that have agendas that are, and those agendas include lying, include attacking and shaming other people, making other people feel small while they feel big, so that they can feel big. And I know all of this it's a part of humanity. It's a part of how we function. It's a part of the growing process. Like, you can't in a lot of instances, it's not feasible to step into the light without actually going through the dark. Like, someone won't know that they're, like, you can't have someone stop being racist without them coming to terms with the fact that up until this point they have been racist, and they have to actually like sit with that and take responsibility for that and ownership for that, and give themselves grace for that in the past, and then to just decide to do something different in the future. So there's like we have to actually like go through that which we are ashamed of in order to actually come to resolution within ourselves. So there's like a part of this that it's important, and it always, like, whenever we look at things like this and we talk about, oh yeah, there are people who literally, like the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, that's like a name that is chosen to try and mislead the world about what they are, and they try to it's a very direct attempt at getting people to not look at what's actually there, and to see it as something that it's not. It's just like it hurts that that's a thing that happens on that large of a scale. Like, I've experienced that type of behavior on a one-on-one relationship basis, but to know that it also happens at like governmental levels, it's like, ouch. It's one of those parts that makes my heart kind of hurt a little bit.
I think as I'm thinking about it more, my resolution for the second part is also would help even more with the political correctness part above, for example, let's say feminism, I think it's important to clarify that doesn't mean that movement thinks that women are superior. It means that they should have equal rights.
Yeah.
So same with like Black Lives Matter, same exact thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's what makes me feel at ease with this, is that it's just part of our responsibility to educate. These are what these things mean, and that's that, while being as respectful as possible to calling people what they would like to be called, even if it's the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, to their faces, I suppose. I don't know. I feel like if Trump interacts with them, he typically doesn't call them North Korea, but maybe I'm completely wrong. Well, actually, I wouldn't put anything past Trump for saying it politically correct. But anyways, that's that. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Alan, for allowing me to come here. That was awesome.
Absolutely. It was cool to do it.
Yes. All right. So cool. And then we'll see you guys over the internet, and you over the internet, next time. Bye, everybody. Family.